Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and thanks for tuning in to another epic siege in Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD. This was a 3 vs 2, and it was a Crusades type scenario in which 3 caliphates from the surrounding areas in the Holy Land besieged a settlement belonging to the Kingdom of Jerusalem. But the Crusaders within the 4 walls, along with their allies, the Principality of Antioch, are not going to give up the city that easily. So I really hope you guys enjoy, and without further ado, let's take a look at the army comps. The first attacking army we're going to take a look at in today's battle is the Abbasid Caliphate, commanded by myself, and it was my first time playing with the Abbasids, and they were really enjoyable to play with in this siege. And just so you guys are aware, because of the Crusader time period, it's going to be early and high period units only, so there won't be any late period units in this battle. But that's something a little different anyways. Too many times in Medieval Kingdoms you see people that just bring the best of the best, but in this battle we had to make do with the time period and also pretty low funding as well. But with that in mind, I've got 2 units of Syrian Ashir, one on either flank, and they are tier 2 medium spear infantry. And I just have them to deter any defending Crusader cavalry from moving out against me. And my infantry is a bit mixed. I've got 4 units of the Hajibeh Gulams, which is a tier 1 unit. But they look pretty solid, pretty heavily armored. They've got chainmail and a mace and shield. But my more elite units are over on this side. I believe I have 5 units of dismounted Hajibeh Mamluks, which are 14th century heavy melee infantry, and some of them fighting with some pretty terrifying axes there, one-handed axes. But all in all, their uniforms look pretty sweet. And for my archers, I've got 4 units of the Jund Rumat, or Rumat. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, I do apologize. But these guys do kind of remind me of the Gulam foot guard that the Ayyubid Sultanate can bring, but I don't think they are as good. They don't have too good armor-piercing damage and really low missile block, but the rate of fire is really solid, and they've got some good stats for fighting in melee as well. And right behind that, I've just got a few extra units of the dismounted Hajibeh Mamluks that don't fit all my towers. And for my 3 units of cavalry, I've brought the Kushtashia cavalry, which is medium shock cavalry. I decided to bring shock cav because I really enjoy them in sieges, because you can get some really good charges off with shock cavalry. Melee cav, like, I usually don't bring melee cav to Total War games in general, but if I did, it would be in open field battles where I could engage enemy cavalry. But purely the shock cavalry is as soon as I get the gates open, just to get some well-timed strikes into the enemy defenders. And I've also got 1 unit of Nafatoons here. Hopefully we'll see some good use of them in the battlefield. And each of the attackers was allowed to bring 1 catapult, so there is no cannons or mortars of that nature to help us break down the walls. So we must use the towers to get up there, and of course the rams. And then last but not least, we've got my general, the Kasha Mameluke bodyguard, and I believe that's this gentleman here, right in the front lines with the bow. And that is it for the Abbasid Caliphate, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next attacker. The second attacking army on the battlefield today is the Ayyubid Sultanate, commanded by Lance the Strategist, and he's brought some similar units. You can see he's already got the dismounted Hajibeh Mamluks that I brought as well with the Abbasids. I believe he has 6 units of them. And in front, he's also brought some of the Syrian Ashir as well, which is the 14th century spears. But he's brought a little more than that. He's actually brought 4 units as opposed to my 2. And for his archers, he's brought 3 units of Syrian archers, which is light bows. And he's also brought a catapult as well. And he's brought a Nafatoon unit, which is really nice to see. Can't wait to see those Nafatoons in action. And he's also got a Kasha Mamluk bodyguard, except this one looks much more glorious than mine did. He's even got the gold on the horse armor. And he's brought 1 unit of Tawashi cavalry as well, which is a heavy shock cavalry unit from the 13th century. So a little early period cavalry there, but only 1 cavalry unit. Besides this general, which does make 2. But his best infantry are over here I saved for last. He's also bringing 3 units of the Mamluk Tabaderia, which is a heavy shock infantry unit, and you can see they've got the massive two-handed axes there. So really excited to see them in melee as well. But we've only got one more attacking army to take a look at, so let's go ahead and do that now. The final attacking army in today's battle is the Hafsid Sultanate, commanded by the Red Celt, and he's got some interesting units here. I'm going to struggle a little bit in pronouncing them, but here it goes. He's got 7 units of the Guzat, which is a medium melee infantry unit, 14th century, so it is high period, but he's brought 7 units of them. And then for his spears, he's also got some Mushad. I love the shields as well, looking really, really cool. So he's got 4 of the light spear units. And then he's also brought some skirmisher cavalry, some Ansef al-Berber. And then we've got his general's bodyguard just behind here. And he would be the one with the sword there. The Nobat al-Jandaria, I believe is how you would pronounce that. But he's also got some good shock cavalry as well, the Jund al-Nasari. And some of them actually have Crusader-type helmets, so that is really cool to see. Not sure if they are mercenaries that fight for this faction or whatnot, but if you do know, you can let me know down in the comments below. And instead of bringing archers, the Red Celt has opted to bring slingers, which I didn't even know were available in 1212. They must be one of the only factions that are able to field slingers in this time period. But given the fact that I believe the Hafsid Sultanate was in the northern parts of Africa, I could see that slingers would be a popular weapon of choice. And he's also got his catapult as well. So looking at his army as a whole, they are just about set up, but that is it for his army comp. So let's go ahead and take a look at the defenders. And now we come to the Crusader defenders in today's battle. We have the Kingdom of Jerusalem and Cyprus, commanded by the Hunted, and the Principality of Antioch, commanded by Azrian Fox. And we're going to go ahead and look at their armies together, because it's a little bit difficult to tell who is who, but I do remember some of what Azrian and the Hunted were bringing. So I know that the Hunted was bringing the Turcopoles, which are archers, medium bow infantry, so he's got 4 of them. And then we've got some dismounted Poland knights here, which are holding the gateways. And we've also got some Order swordsmen. These guys look awesome. I love the Order swordsmen in medieval kingdoms. Really nice coloring. But they've also got some of the dismounted Hospitaller Knights, which is the heavy shock infantry unit, so they could probably go toe-to-toe with the Mameluke Tabaderia. We've also got some Hospitaller Knights here, and some Antiochene Knights. And the Antiochene Knights would be from Azrian Fox's army. And Azrian Fox has brought crossbows. You can see he's got some crossbows over facing the Red Celt side here. And he's also got some dismounted Antiochene Knights, which would also be Azrians. We've also got some spears held back here. We've got some spear sergeants. And each of them was allowed to bring a catapult. And we've also got the generals back here, the Prince of Antioch, which would be this gentleman right here. So that is the Prince of Antioch. And then we've also got the Kingdom of Jerusalem, their general, which is the Hospitaller Bodyguard. Looking very cool. All decked out and ready for battle. Even their horses have chainmail. That's crazy. And there's just a random peasant walking in and about the forces there. I'm sure that they are very worried about the ensuing battle, but I believe that's mostly everything. We've got more Order swordsmen here, Poland Knights. We do have some Ministeriale spearmen. Total butcher of that name, but they're a pretty light spear unit, medium spears, 13th century. But I think that is it for all the army comps, guys. So will the Crusaders be able to hold on to this stronghold, or will it fall to the forces of the Muslims? Well, we will find out in just a minute. Alright guys, welcome to the battlefield, and we've got our siege towers moving forwards, and you can see that the arrow towers are already unleashing a total firestorm of arrows. And I think this is something that was changed in the newest update, where it no longer just fires one at a time. You can see that each volley is about 3 to 6 arrows, and that is very intense to behold as we are trying to push up our siege towers to the walls here. Now remember, we've only got catapults, so we really don't stand a chance to break down any of these stone walls and create any breaches, and we also don't really stand much chance in getting rid of the towers either. But you can see that they are just pumping out arrows against my poor Hajibagulams as they do try to push these siege towers up to the walls. And I believe we all opted to bring the medium siege engines instead of the, not the late period, but medium instead of the heavy siege towers, just to make it a little bit more complicated for us as well, because you can see that the fire damage is already pretty significant on some of these towers. But I am moving up pretty aggressively, and it looks like Lance the Strategist is also doing the same, moving up his ram with the Syrian Ashir. He's got to be careful with his Mamluk Tabaderia as well. He doesn't want to get them into range of those towers because they are already causing quite some casualties for the Syrian Ashir. They are still confident, which is good, but again, look at their numbers dropping to this machine gun-like tower. My goodness. Oh, and of course, we've also got the foot Turco poles just firing into their flanks as they try to push this tower up. Yeah, a lot of them dying there. And actually, I think they have just broken. Yeah, it looks like they broke and then wavered, but they will break once again. And on the other side, it's pretty much the same thing for the Red Celt, just an overwhelming shower of arrows. We've also got the crossbows that are not in range yet, but will be very soon. And this isn't really a long siege battle. It's only 21 minutes. It's probably one of the shortest siege battles I've ever recorded for you guys. But well done to the Hunted. Just as the towers are kind of getting close, he's moved his Ministeriale Spearmen off the walls just so they can fight a little bit better. But now my units, the June Regiment over there, are going to be trying to target some of the easier targets, like the foot Turco poles here, and also these dismounted Poland Knights. These Knights are going to be extremely difficult for us to deal with. You can already see that my towers are starting to smoke, though, just from the relentless archer fire. And these Crusaders will hold. Or will they? And there we go. My unit's just getting off the towers here and already being showered by those arrow towers. We're going to try and slam into this unit here, which I believe is some Order Swordsmen. Yes, it is. And yeah, the foot Turco poles over here just having a field day as these poor men are trying to come off the siege towers. They are already being fired upon. And actually, this unit that we're looking at is already wavering. Same thing with this unit, trying to get it off the walls as quickly as possible. And wow, yeah, just look at that. Getting a bit of friendly fire there. The Hunted does have to be careful about that. But I am going to try and push this unit over here to take out this catapult, which you can see is still had about half of its ammunition. Let's go ahead and put this in slow motion here. So yeah, we've already got one of the towers that has collapsed, which has caused me to lose about half of that unit, which was a little disheartening to see. You can see them down to about 84 men. But I did forget to show you guys the man count. So it's about 8,000 to 5,000. So we did have a 3,000 man advantage. And over here, my goodness, we've got some of the Antiochene Knights over here causing a lot of trouble for the Red Celt. You can see causing some of his units here to have to dismount the siege tower to fight and melee. Same thing over here, just running down all of the, I believe these were spears? Or, yeah, Guzat, high period spears. Unfortunately, they weren't really that effective in the cavalry engagement just because they were pushing up the ramps. So that's really tough to see there. But yeah, these archer towers just not relenting, and the Red Celt desperately trying to push some of his units up onto the walls. And it looks like he is successful here, getting some of his Gusat up here, high period swords, to attack these dismounted Antiochene Knights that are just waiting for them. And over here we've got some more Knights holding the gate. But the crossbows haven't started to fire just yet. And looks like Lance is actually getting up over here onto the walls. He's got his, what are these? The Mamelukes, I believe? Can't really see. Yes, dismounted Hajuba Mamelukes. So he's got them over here, which is great. And then looks like he's also had a siege tower over on this side. But the foot Turkopol's definitely already racking up the kills. 66 kills, and the battle has barely begun. Let's go ahead and put this back onto regular speed. And we'll just end zoom in here. Watch some of the fighting. You can see the Mamluk Tabateria closing in from the outside the city walls. So I think he is going to try, Lance that is going to try and push them up the towers and maybe break these Order Swordsmen quickly enough.
The men are broken and running.
And yeah, my men are having a bit of trouble over here. As you can see, 3 of my units already broken. Taking a lot of casualties to the Hunted's units and also from those towers. But I am still trying to focus down this unit of Poland Knights here. You can see that they're already down to 100 men, and they've only got 4 kills, which is excellent. Something that was a little bit annoying during this battle, though, was my archers would actually get obstructed trying to fire at this unit for quite some time, and I was wondering what was going on, and it's because my units are actually breaking through it, and therefore the archers wouldn't fire upon them. So that was a little bit frustrating. But yeah, we're also fighting our hearts out over against the spear unit here. Tier 1 spears, and they are just holding their ground. Really impressive to see. I mean, they've definitely got the help of the foot Turkopols. And because he's deployed so low like this, the foot Turkopols are just able to have an excellent angle to fire right into my units and get minimal friendly fire. Looks like we do have some Order Swordsmen that are moving up here. They're going to reinforce the front lines. Let's put it in slow motion and take a look at how the Red Kilt is faring. I think he's having a pretty tough time. You can see he's pushed his Mushad back onto the ram to try and break down the gate, but they're already wavering once again. I think they were the ones that were hammered quite a bit by the Antiochian Knights there. More Gusat just breaking on the walls. The dismounted Antiochian Knights here holding strong with minimal casualties. Over here, it looks like there is another siege tower that has been pushed up, and he's trying to capture this tower, which is definitely a good shout, because look at the range over here. It's firing 4... What? It's firing 3 down here. It was firing 3 to 6 over at the cavalry. And then it's firing 3 to 6 arrows over here at the Mamluk Tabateria as they come up off the towers. Just absolutely incredible. Let's take a look at this here. I love finding excellent angles for siege battles. You can see all the towers there, all the men pouring off the walls. And we've already got the second line of the Antiochian Knights just waiting for those Order Swordsmen to break so that they can have their turn. And also, I can see the crossbow arrows just flying. I believe these are the crossbowmen. Yes, they are. They've got the Principality of Antioch flag there. Let's go ahead and take a look at my battle over here. So yeah, those pikemen are definitely really depleted. Also starting to focus these Order Swordsmen, which have taken 20 losses. But I'm pretty much out of infantry at this point. I've got my 2 units of spears, but everybody else is up and on the walls fighting. And I think I did lose another siege tower by this point. Yes, so I've lost 2 siege towers. I'm down to 3 ways to get up on these walls. Didn't take the gates yet. I probably should have maybe utilized my ram to go after that gate. But over here... Also, some breaking from Lance the Strategist. Looks like his dismounted Mamluks here have started to break. Well, let's see these Mamluk Tabateria in action. They should definitely be doing some work against the Order Swordsmen. And at the risk of frames, let's just go ahead and put it back onto regular speed so we can get the battle sounds going on. Yeah, so they're definitely doing well over here against the Order Swordsmen, also flanking around them, but those crossbows are just ripping them apart. And I actually hadn't done a sandstorm battle before, but this is a really cool weather for fighting Crusader-type battles like this. Oh my goodness, the shower of arrows. Got the ground shaking as well. I think that is the Order Swordsman broken there. But now I think we've got some of the dismounted Hospitaller Knights, which have flanked around the Tabaderia and are starting them to waver. Did have some of the dismounted Mamelukes starting to waver, but they steadied themselves as they silenced the foot Turcoples. But unfortunately, we've got even more Antiochene Knights over on this flank, which are going to flank around the Mameluke Tabaderia. Looking over at the Red Celt side, the cavalry is definitely causing some problems here. You can see more Hejaba Mamelukes are breaking. And this one is holding on because I don't think the cavalry can get a decent charge on it. You can see that Azrian is trying to hit them in the flanks, but they are kind of protected by the tower. But, yeah, the Red Celt, he's running out of infantry this early on as well. He's pushing in his last 2 spear units. And the Slinger's not really getting many kills. I don't know how well they do in battles like this where they're not on a level ground. So I think he needs to get them up into the settlement before they'll actually fire. Because I know that archers do well in an arcing position, but I don't know about slingers. Over here you can see I'm desperately trying to capture this gate so I can move my units in, but unfortunately the Hajab Gulams break due to the Hospitaller Knights that just came in and hit them pretty hard from the flank. Over here we are still holding though, under the relentless fire of the arrow towers. And yeah, the siege towers are broken, so we've got 1, 2, 3 down. And now this 4th one has just collapsed, so I'm down to 1 tower, and it's taken 49% fire damage. So yeah, not looking too good. And the balance of power has already gone to about even. And as far as the man count goes here, we've got 4,300 for the Muslim attackers and 3,600 for the defenders. And speaking of the defenders, we've got some Hospitaller Knights over here that have hit the Syrian archers. Not sure if Lance noticed that. I think he has now, though, because he's sending his Tawashi in. Let's actually go ahead and put this on slow motion and jump into that unit. And see if we can catch the Hospitaller Knights in melee. Oh, we got some volleys from the arrows coming in. Looks like some Syriac archers in reserve. But yeah, it looks like he is going to catch the Hospitaller Knights in melee. So that is good to see. The unit had a really nice wide formation, so you can see that most of them are actually going to be able to flank around as well. But Lance having the same trouble as I am with his siege towers just getting systematically burned down, which is not good. And the Red Celt over here, if we take a look at his units, again, he's got his slingers, he's got his catapult, and a couple units of cavalry. And that is about it on his side. But over here, I think I did capture this gate and finally destroyed those towers. And I've got my Syrian Ashir blocking the dismounted Hospitaller Knights and the foot Turcoples. So now I do have a way into the settlement with my cavalry. So I'm sending my Kushta Shia cavalry into the settlement. It was a little bit buggy, though. You'll see that my units of cavalry kind of get a bit trapped as they try to pull into the settlement like this. But the Hunted hasn't moved his other unit of Hospitaller Knights over just yet, so that's definitely going to help me out. I'm slamming through these foot Turcopoles here, just throwing them to the ground. And I'm also wanting to get a nice charge on these Order Swordsmen here. You can see I turn around and try to hit them, but I don't really have enough room to charge into their flanks. But it might just be enough to cause them to waver from being attacked in the flank. And yeah, some big hits there from the catapult that is being fired way from over up top this secondary defense here. You can see that the Hunted has his catapult. And we've also got Azrian's catapult in a good position here, although I'm not sure if he's going to need it just yet. But yeah, there we go. 2 of my units just breaking there, unfortunately. Let's go ahead and put this back onto play. Yeah, there we go. You can see that my cavalry, they're really glitching on the walls there. I was trying to get them out quicker so that I could support the foot turtle pole and order swordsmen attacking my Syrian Ashir. I wanted to get some units around them to charge them in the back. But here we go. Looks like we do have some Antiochene knights, so Azrian Fox has noticed that this flank might need a little bit more support. Some lucky shots on my cavalry as well as they're trying to get a good position here. And I'm just going to send this unit of dismounted Mamelukes to try and plug the gap so these Antiochene knights can't get in behind my cavalry. But there we go. So finally making some headway there with my cavalry, just crushing them. And we've got some spear sergeants here from Azrian Fox, I believe, who have formed up a secondary defense. But I am firing at them from behind with my June Remat. And apologies for missing this, but I actually had this unit firing at the second unit from behind and pretty much obliterated it. And now I'm going to do the same thing to this Spear Sergeant unit if I can. But I'm quickly running out of ammunition. Let's just run over here and take a look at what else is going on. So Lance has been pretty much destroyed at this time. He's got a few more units, but not too much. And, I mean, the Red Celt, he's still trying to make his way through the gate, but I think these dismounted Antiochene Knights are just about to recapture it. And, yeah, I do have my last kind of ace of spades, my Nafatoons over here. I am trying to bring them in to get some hits on these Hospitaller Knights here. Again, still firing at them with my archers as well. Here we go. There's a couple of the throws here. Beautiful. Yeah, really hitting hard into those Hospitaller halberds. Can't remember what they're called. Dismounted Hospitaller Knights. Yeah, we're getting some good hits there. Almost out of ammunition already, though. They've only got a few throws. But I'm forced to kind of use them in this position because I don't really have anything else to fight these with. Yeah, just relentless arrow fire coming down as well. And over here, I've got all my cavalry in. It looks like there is a lot of room to flank around here, but there was a bit of a pathfinding issue, so I couldn't get around, unfortunately. But I was able to outflank those Antiochene Knights, which was good to see. And Lance, he still has his Nafatoons hidden away back here as well. And the Red Celt does have some of his cavalry left, but it's looking to be pretty disastrous for the Muslim forces. Sending in my Syrian Ashir to try and get rid of these dismounted Hospitaller Knights for good. But they're taking some heavy losses to my June Remat, or Rumet. But over here, let's take a look at this spear unit as well.
This is shameful.
And Azrian Fox, I think he was pretty much on the game here. He sees that I'm bringing forwards my Nafatoons and pushes his Spear Sergeants in. But we get a good volley off there, hitting that Spear Sergeant unit pretty hard. And then having to charge them into melee because that was all of their ammo that I had used. So that was pretty much my last-ditch effort there. I've got my Syrian Ashir that were defending my cavalry, defending the rear of my cavalry anyways. Now I'm going to be moving this unit to charge into the unit of halberds. Yep, just obliterating what was left of them. And unfortunately getting a ton of friendly fire. That was totally my bad. Let's go ahead and put this on slow motion here. So yeah, just trying to break them, and some more Spear Sergeants from the Principality of Antioch, but luckily I broke them just in time and was able to push my cavalry away. But now, unfortunately, I am trapped in this little area here, so I'm not going to be able to get my cavalry around. And I think what I do is just I end up forming them up and then getting them to charge right back into these spears, which, again, wasn't really the best idea, but I do have some of my archers that were attacking them in the flanks, so they are completely surrounded, so I thought maybe a good shock charge into the front of these spears might be enough to break them, but we're getting pretty panicked at this point. Yeah, you can see them just lining up there, ready to go in. Let's go ahead and actually just put it back on play. Only 8 minutes left in this siege battle already, so it's quite a short one. But yeah, you can see I'm really hitting hard into the flanks, but then we've got some more of the Hospitaller Knights that get a huge side charge onto my archers. Still firing with what's left of my ammo from my June Rumat. Yeah, just an awful bloody fight for these walls. Absolutely bloody.
The men are broken and running for their lives.
Let's just make sure that nothing else is going on. Yeah, it looks like General's Bodyguard is in range now, and we've also got some more Hospitaller Knights coming over to my flank, as if I didn't have enough trouble already. But it looks like now we've got the General here, the Hafsid General in melee. Let's see him trying to make it up the slope. You can see the Hafsid banner carrier trying to make it to the front.
Return to the fight.
And I mean, they are hacking their way through these dismounted Antiochene Knights, but I don't know if they're going to be heavy enough to turn the tide. I think these are just light units. And look at this guy up over here, like surveying the battlefield up to the left of the gatehouse. If I was an archer, that'd be the guy I would be shooting down. He's looking a little too confident, a little too proud. Oh, I'm hearing some catapult fire coming down.
Men are running. Stand and fight.
Yeah, firing at these slingers over here that we're trying to make it up the 2 remaining siege towers. And over here, I've got my General's Bodyguard pushing in with just about everything I have left. I'm just pushing in here. But look at the blood and all the bodies that have fallen on these walls. And unfortunately, it looks like it is slipping out of our favor now. You can see 2,000 to 2,500. So now the Crusaders actually outnumber us.
Our men are rallying. They're not
But
done
we do
yet.
not give up the fight. Over here as well, the Red Celt sending in his spears. And yeah, the Antiochene Knights are really struggling here. It looks like another unit of dismounted Antiochene Knights has been pushed in. But looks like a bit of friendly fire on the backs of them as well. Actually, that was a huge hit from the catapult. It actually hit the side of the gatehouse and then bounced down. Oh no, it's actually going through the gatehouse. Oh, that is rough to see.
Unit is running from the enemy.
Poor Red Celt. Yeah, so some incredible sniping with that catapult from Azer and Fox there. And a lot of dead over here. A lot of Ayyubids dead on these walls. But I think my general is fighting his heart out here.
The men are running.
My archers, I keep trying to rally my archers to keep them from breaking and keep them in the fight. But it just looks like they don't have enough to take this settlement. We're going to have to pull back and renew their numbers. Oh, man. And then try once more. Yeah, the Hunted, just no mercy here. Firing with his catapult into what's left of my archers with my General's Bodyguard as well. And I think I did try to pull my General out just a little bit and then get a charge into the backs of these archers. But unfortunately, I did have a few that were still caught in melee, so when I did get them to charge back in, it was a pretty soft charge, as you can see right there. Really not the best. But these two units are quite depleted, and I'm hoping that they will waver and break from the battlefield, at least making it a little bit closer. But you can see they've still got quite a few reserves that haven't even seen action. And the Red Celt is just about to lose his General's Bodyguard there. The crossbows just firing down into that gateway. We've also got the skirmish cav here, as well as some Syrian archers that are still cutting down the Antiochene Knights. And it looks like we do have some Hospitaller Knights that are moving over to come after these Nafatoons. Looks like Lance is trying to get his Nafatoons away. And I believe that is the general of the Hafsids. So that would be the Red Celts general. And now the Nafatoons are going to turn around, and looks like they are going to try and get through. But yeah, huge hits there. That was insane. Slaying over half the unit before having to go into melee. Well done to those Nafatoons. And they actually look more heavily armored than mine do. Yeah, you bid Nafatoons. But yeah, I think that was a full unit, and they're down to 32 men, so really solid effort there.
Our general has died at enemy hands.
And there goes my general. My general has been slain. And we've got some of the Hafsid cavalry moving in, but I think it's too little too late at this point. But we did do a decent amount of damage, considering how hard it was against those towers. So we killed more than half of them. But my army is completely broken off the battlefield. And I think that Lance just has his bodyguard here, and yeah, that's basically it. The other two units just broke. And look at this, still firing at these cavalry units in the gatehouse as they try and retreat. But we will not give up. We will not break. And it looks like actually Lance has dismounted his bodyguard, but the Crusaders are pushing out of the gatehouse. They are confident in their win now. Deuce Bolt, am I right? God wills it. Prepare to die. Oh, and I think that is Lance's general breaking, and it's just... Actually, did his Nafatoons actually defeat that cavalry? Or were they pulled back? I think, he pulled them back. But these Nafatoons, they need to get much closer. If he had run them all the way over here, they could have got some really nice volleys against the Antiochene Knights as they moved outside the city. But the relentless fire here and the fact that they are already wavering with their general, who has broken off the battlefield, I think that is just about it. I'm actually surprised that they haven't broken yet. So as far as the towers go, we were talking about it a little bit afterwards, and we think that the towers might have gotten their damage nerfed a bit, but the fact is that they're firing so many fire arrows at one time that they're really affecting the morale of these units. So on the other side, I had units that had only lost about 20 men by the time they got up the walls, but all of the fire arrows just started them breaking or wavering, just like that. Actually, it looks like we got some crossbows that are moving up onto the walls to go after these Nafatoons here. Not even sure if the Nafatoons will be able to fire down on them. Oh, yeah, actually, we got a few that are being lobbed up over top the walls. Kind of like a last stand. They're really missing their mark, though, unfortunately. And there they go. They have broken. No mercy from the Crusader crossbowmen. They just continue to fire until they are out of range. And there we go. I think that is just about it, guys. We've got one other unit just hanging on. But yeah, 2,140 of them still alive after this battle. So let's take a look at the results here. So yes, loss is quite heavy. Surprisingly, I had the least amount of losses, but I think it's just because most of my men broke. But pretty low kills on all of my infantry, except a couple of the Hecheba Mamelukes here. But my archers doing surprisingly well, and my cavalry, which I used pretty late game, and also my Nafatoons, which I used late game, did pretty well. Looking at Lance the Strategist, a couple of his, well, one of his Mameluke Tebedaria did really well, but I think they were just focused down by archers too easily. And his spears pretty low, a lot of his infantry pretty low, archers low. Nafatoon's 49 kills, they were used at the very end, so that is solid. Surprisingly, no kills from the catapult as well. So I think maybe he was targeting some of the towers, trying to bring them down. And looking at the Hafsid Sultanate, the Mushed were pretty low. The Guzat, yeah, also pretty low, and the Slingers not getting too many kills. So all around pretty low here, but I think the Slingers just don't do well firing up over onto walls. And you do have to remember that the Antioch Knights were causing a lot of trouble for the Red Celt as he was trying to move his towers up. So I think that handicapped him for the rest of the game. Looking at the Hunted, who is mostly facing my side and a bit of Lance's side, racking up kills with those foot turtle poles, 341 there, and 229, 171. And his Order Sword's been doing pretty solid, but the Poland Knights, not so much. I focused them down on purpose. But 404 kills from those Hospitaller Knights. They just shred our units because they have such low armor. And his cavalry also doing really well. Looking at Azrian Foxes, his Spear Sergeants, I mean, I would say they didn't do well, but they really didn't see melee, these two units. And a couple of his Antioch Knights held back, didn't see melee. 318, 267, 130 for the crossbows, 258, 202 for the cav, which is really good, and even 52 kills with the catapult, 31 with the hunteds. So thank you very much for watching this bloody engagement, guys. I really hope you enjoyed, and let me know down in the comments below what you think about the new archer towers, because a lot of people do think that Attila archer towers are pretty OP to begin with, and these ones just seem insane. But then again, with the whole defenders never win thing and people saying that it's really hard for defenders to win in siege battles, maybe this isn't the worst thing in the world. But again, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you did enjoy. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And as always, I will see you in the next one.